How are you going?
I'm so well. So happy to be here.
So exciting. What a lot of people won't know, this is Sally Meredith, everyone,
Hello.
is we trained together. We did our yoga teach training together.
Like
10 years ago.
I feel like we're moving into double figures. I just realized that this year, I think it's double figures.
We need to have a proper party.
Yeah, we should. For the 10-year birthday of our relationship.
10-year anniversary.
Yeah.
I remember meeting Sally and which means you would have been, what, 22 perhaps when I met you?
I think I was 20, to be honest.
So 20-year-old doing teach training. Everyone just think
Yeah,
about that for a moment. Some of you are very new to this practice, and maybe you're finding yoga in your 30s, in your 40s, in your 50s, in your 60s, even later. So Sally found yoga, well before her 20s actually, because her mother was a yoga teacher, and then did the teach training course at the age of 20. So she had this phenomenal wisdom about her at such a young age, and so watching you grow has been nothing short of truly amazing, Sally.
Oh, thank you, Lauren. And also watching you develop, with the businesses and everything that you do. I mean, it's just so awesome to be supported, with these long-term relationships in our passion, I think. And I really feel that with Lauren, such a long-term friend, right there from the beginning when I first started my journey as becoming a professional yoga person, moving it into a profession, really. So it's so awesome to share the journey.
So we did the teacher training course together in Melbourne at Australian Yoga Academy. And they're still running teach training courses in Melbourne too. Amazing. Yeah. Then Sally worked for me at the studios that I had in Melbourne. I left, sold those businesses. Sally stayed working in those studios. And when we said, we're moving to the Sunshine Coast, Sally said, I've always wondered about living in the Sunshine Coast. I remember thinking, that is so exciting. Imagine Sally moving here to the coast. And I said, if you ever come to the Sunshine Coast, we would love you to teach at the studios up north, which inevitably happened. I think it took about 3 years.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we got her. And look, we've only got her for a little bit longer because she's off travelling again. What an amazing journey. But can we come back to the start? Because your mum was a yoga teacher.
Well, actually, my mum is now a yoga teacher. She's been teaching for about 2 years, I think, only.
Okay.
But she did do yoga. She's an aerobics instructor.
It's the aerobics. Okay,
Yeah.
but obviously a very spiritual woman.
Yeah, she was. I remember as a really young child, maybe before kinder even, sometimes mum would invite clairvoyants to the house and they would, do different readings. And my mum was always interested and dabbled in that kind of esoteric stuff. And she loved working with groups and classes with her aerobics. And she would participate in yoga and Pilates. And I'd always kind of just be going along, hanging out, waiting at the back of the room for her to finish her aerobics class. With my little scrunchy and pink leotard on, matching my mum.
I've got the visual perfectly.
So maybe that had an impact on my upbringing.
But I guess in those days there wasn't really, yoga wasn't really around all that much. What was it?
No.
And so probably the closest thing to it was being in a teacher role, holding space for those people that came to an aerobic class, but they were really drawn to her spirituality side that she had as well.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I'm sure energetically she was imparting, right?
Yeah.
Like you do so beautifully.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, but I always really a credit to my parents for nurturing it in me, but ever since I can remember, I always had a connection to yoga before I even had the word of what it was. And meditation. I remember having a meditation practice as a child. They're some of my earliest memories, and really what my teachers and inspiration was nature and my pets, my animals. So me and my dog Benji, we would go on walks to the bush, through the bush behind my parents' house, and we would drop into a state with each other. I would really observe how present and moment to moment he was, and just really want to experience that. and we'd just sit. We'd sit a lot. We'd walk, and then we'd find a good rock somewhere, and we'd both just sit and observe the nature. And I remember feeling like so much energy in my body in those moments.
So you remember feeling energy in your body?
Yeah. It sounds all a little bit like woo-woo, but
no, we love woo.
It's more like a real like vibrant aliveness. Not so much like a heat or a cool sensation, but more just like this aliveness.
Alive.
Like the feeling when you drink a lot of caffeinated drinks,
okay. Yeah.
but in a grounded way.
Awesome.
Yeah, and super connected to nature, like all the sounds and yeah.
Would you say you were a highly sensitive being?
Yeah, I think so. I really loved...
as the wind comes through us.
I really loved just being by myself. Yeah.
That's a big thing because a lot of people don't love being by themselves.
I have three younger siblings and I never really played with them. I'd just go off and do my own thing with my dog.
Yeah. Right. And you're totally fine being your own.
Yeah, maybe because I'm the oldest, so I was used to that already.
Interesting. And obviously, you know, your parents obviously nurtured that aspect of you, rather than saying, go and play with the other kids, don't be on your own, which a lot of people would do, right?
Yeah, my parents really nurtured it. They took us to like amazing nature trips a lot when we were kids and really nurtured that freedom and kind of wanderlust spirit in all of us. And I remember when I was, I think, about 5 years old, I went into a news agency with my mum. She was buying some envelopes, and I saw this tiny square little pocket book with Jessie Chapman. She's an amazing yoga teacher. I've never met her in person still to this day, but it was all these black and white, beautiful photography of people in Byron Bay on the beaches doing yoga poses with little descriptions and names of the poses. And I must have been old enough to read because I was flicking through it and I was just begging Mum, please, can you buy this for me? And she bought it with no question. Usually she wouldn't do that because we didn't have that extra money to spend on stuff at that point. But that's what I mean, like she really nurtured it in me. And that was my first understanding of, oh, there's a name for this thing. And there's actual like poses that I can do to access these powers even more. And I would just like read through that book and do all the little sequences in it in my own time, like in my bedroom or in the nature. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're reading through, you're getting inspired by the Jessie Chapman book, you're really independent and enjoying your time alone, and you're out in nature, you're at one with nature, you got Benji by your side.
Oh, Benji.
How do we get to do the teacher training course?
Well, then, you know, life happens and I'm going through primary school and forgetting and remembering. And then high school is like a big forgetting because it gets all caught up in the social world and the fun of discovering myself as a teenager. And but I was a dancer, so I've been dancing since I was in primary school. And then when I entered into high school, a yoga teacher popped up at our dance school and started offering yoga lessons. So I was like, whoa, cool. Now I can actually be taught this stuff that I've been trying to do. And Mum really nurtured that in me as well and enrolled me into the yoga classes. And this yoga teacher was one of the first groups that ever went through the Australian Yoga Academy training. So she, as I was getting older, like moving into year 12, she started just planting little seeds saying like, you could do this, like you could take this further. And I just loved her classes. She was very spiritual and we'd draw cards before the class and it was just such a special time for me as a teenager, like growing up and having that really safe haven that was quite magical as well.
So many of us are sitting here thinking we wish we had an experience like that.
Oh, I was so lucky, so awesome. And so she really kind of nurtured and planted those seeds in me of like, this is something you could do. And then she took me along with her to one of the classes at the Australian Yoga Academy. And I was like, oh my God, there's like 30 people sitting in lotus, like breathing really deeply, and it was so powerful. I was like, yep, I'm doing teacher training.
Because I had a similar moment at Australian Yoga Academy because I knew I wanted to do teacher training, and I went to every yoga studio I knew in Melbourne that offered it, and I had this moment at Paran, at AYA. I walked in and we were all in Warrior 2. I remember that, the fierce energy of that Warrior 2, and Dominique came and just adjusted my finger And that was the moment for me. I was just like, I'm doing my teacher training here.
Yes, that's what happened to me. I was in Prasarita Padottanasana, the wide legs, interlacing fingers behind the back, forward fold, and she came and adjusted me in that pose, and I was like, yeah, I'm doing this.
20
Her touch.
years of age. So
Dominique Salerno.
Dominique. So
she's powerful.
She is a phenomenal woman. Every now and then I touch base with her. Actually, we must send her some of this.
Yeah.
So you did this amazing course, by the way, and then started teaching at the yoga studio in Melbourne with me, and then started to spread your wings. You were here, there, and everywhere. Workshops, festivals, retreats, you name it. Acro yoga got into, which is sort of the partnering where you fly with people and work with other bodies. But the whole time you've got this spiritual aspect, but what I wanted to touch on is that you really do tend to weave that dance element into the yoga practice. And I love how you do that. I don't think you'd be able to explain how you do that. But talk to us about how yoga is and can be a real dance.
Wow, this is a big topic for me. I can get really wide and big with the topic, or I can just stay more physical about how it affects the physical practice. So the dance, for me, I came to the more physical yoga practice through my physical dance practice, my training as a dancer. And later on, I continued studies with dance at university, and then I started to move more and more away from all the technique and into more of an improvised dance practice, which really interested me, being fully in the present moment and just dancing with whatever comes. It's kind of like surfing but dancing, because you've just got to wait for the wave to come and then you move with it and harness different waves of energy that come through and feelings and emotion. You can be inspired by so many different things, and so that I can't escape that. That really is a deep practice that's ingrained into me, that just comes through into all of my relationships and of course into my yoga practice. So my classes are pretty spontaneous and creative, and I feel that from your classes too, because you've got a dance background too. So I think that's the best way I can explain it. But it also ripples out into all of my aspects of the way I live. So that ability to be in a flow state, really. Yeah.
Tell us an example of that. Tell us an example when you weren't in flow state and how you became aware of that.
Yeah. So an example of that, let me think.
Take your time.
Wow. Okay. So the relationship I was in before my current relationship, and you actually were a really great support during that. I was living with a partner just near the Melbourne studio that Lauren ran, and it just was not working. But we were both so determined to make it work. We couldn't feel, I definitely couldn't really feel, I couldn't access the deeper kind of whisper of get out of this now, it's not a good fit. And nothing to do with him. I mean, he's an incredible person and I really honoured the time we shared together, but it just wasn't a good fit at that point in our life, and really exhausted it right to the very end, where I sacrificed myself. And I think that's a big thing that comes up when we don't work with that state of flow, when we're not giving ourselves enough spaciousness and sovereign time to really tune in and listen to the undercurrent. We're actually sacrificing ourselves, and then we show up in our relationship in a way that's really not solid. I'm not a solid person anymore. I'm not bringing something solid to the relationship. I'm actually bringing this really I'm just swimming and I have no idea what's going on, help me please, and it can get really desperate and murky. So that was a big thing.
How did you know you were in that place?
How did I know?
Physically, emotionally, because we can get into that place and not become aware that we're in it. You have to have the awareness.
That was the thing. I didn't know I was in it, and I was teaching yoga full time. I was doing all the things that looked like I would have the awareness, but I really didn't. I got a lot of support from the people around me, like Lauren. I think I went and met up with you one point at your house, which was just down the road, and you just asked some really good questions that helped give me space. So yeah, I think questioning is really helpful, to just ask those questions for yourself, or maybe go to a good friend and say, can you ask me the questions to help give me some space around what's going on and see it from a different angle.
Yeah.
And then I could finally just slowly start to see clearly. The other thing that really helped me was doing work on myself. So, because in that moment I could get so focused on what wasn't going right and trying to fix it and deal with it, that I was still sacrificing just getting back to myself. So taking some time away, like I went and did a week-long yoga retreat during that time, which really helped me get some clarity and insight. It's so important. And with my relationship now, we really value that, and that's our way of really loving each other.
I must say, I really admire that about the two of you. You have this beautiful time apart from one another, and then obviously this precious quality time with each other.
Yeah.
With the dance of yoga, and how it just comes through you so naturally. Anyone that's done one of Sally's classes will see that and sense that. Even the person I was interviewing just before Sally got here, she's like, oh my gosh, is Sally next? She said, there's just something amazing about that woman. What is it? And we're going to get woo-woo here. Woo-woo warning.
You can't help it when we're together.
Do you sense your connections to your past lives and knowing that you've done this before?
Oh, me and my partner?
No, sorry, you and the dance, that connection, and where you've been before. And
you know, when we were doing our teacher training, I think Dominique might have said it, that, or maybe Emma, one of the teachers in that course said something that really struck me. If you're sitting here learning to become a yoga teacher, it's because you've walked this path before. And that landed so, like, my whole being was like, yes. Like, I really got that.
At the age of 20?
So, and more, the more I dive into my own practice, which is becoming a lot more subtle, my personal practice does involve a lot of big movement, because I really love that embodied practice, building strength and heat in the body. But I'm really valuing more and more the really subtle, quiet practice and the internal practice. And the more I go into that, the more I feel it.
Yeah, that sensing that you've done this before.
Yeah.
It's not the first time.
Yeah.
You know, in this lifetime, that's what I really get. And I feel like, I know I'm touching a really big subject right here, but I feel like so many of us who are really lacking direction and lacking our purpose and trying to work out our why, it's often because we pull away from these things, these spiritual aspects, these feelings of goosebumps, these moments of solitude, because this is where all the answers lay hidden and sometimes lay dormant for life. And so I feel like a lot of us human beings, we do anything to avoid coming close to that truth of who we are. And fortunately, Sal, you've been able to find yours pretty early on in life, which only means so much for the rest of your life moving forwards. And what is amazing is that when we do discover our gifts and finally come into that space, we're able to serve and enable so many others to do work. And in actual fact, we are healers. And creators. What's your latest thing you're creating? So I know you're...
Yeah, I'm really excited about moving into working more and more with yoga teachers. And so with Lauren's studio, I'll be teaching on that next year, on the teacher training for teachers, the level 2 training, which I'm really looking forward to. And so I've been working away at building the content for that, and just like, you know, incubating it all. And
Gwynnie's?
Yeah, and I work, so the Zentai Shiatsu, I work with Gwyn Williams, and that's also like shifted into a new gear now. So where he's been a big mentor for me for the past 4 years, and now we're really moving into colleague relationship, which feels really fresh and amazing. Like when I first met him, I could never have even imagined that. Definitely put him on a big pedestal, and he's still up there, but it just feels so inspiring to be working alongside him and to be creating together. So we're also working with yoga teachers, and we train therapists as well. So, and I love that aspect of my work. Like that fully changed the way I teach yoga when I started really touching bodies and doing body work, like massage on clients, having that deeper intimacy really changed.
I agree. Yeah, there's an amazing connection through touch. And what it does, it really heals you. It gets you over your stuff. Whatever you're making touch mean, whether it be male or female, you really get through that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you remember that?
Yes, totally. And like I've had clients come where I've just felt a resistance to working with them, but then I've had moments where I've been able to break through that and expand myself even more to be available for them, which then I've witnessed them unravel and step up and rise up into a more truer, authentic version of themselves through that. And if I had have just shut them down because I felt like, no, I don't want to work with them, it's going to be too hard, then I would have missed that opportunity. And for me, that's just the most wonderful space to be able to hold for someone. And we really like rise up together and break through things together. So for me, really the bodyworks helped me to really see through all the stuff to the actual person that's in there, which is actually no different from who I am. And I love holding space for that.
Let's touch on that. So when we do this sort of work and when we come on retreats and we're doing partner work, we get to this point where we can, like Sally and I are doing right now, we can hold this space. Like I can look into Sally's eyes and I feel so comfortable here. I can stay for a long time. But years before yoga, there is no way I would have been able to comfortably do that.
I would have been like crying or like
everywhere. Yeah, darting away.
This is so awkward. It's an intimacy and it starts with ourselves. And for me, that's what yoga has been. I started with it. I knew it when I was a kid. It was so in me. And then I forgot it as I moved into teenage years and was dancing. And dancing's very comparative. It's very embodied, but it's very comparative and competitive. So that became more of an outside story of I need to hit this shape and do this thing, and everything becomes separate. It's me against all the rest of the class. Like if the teacher doesn't recognize me, then I don't have an opportunity to dance in that company. So I need this because I need money to survive. Sure. And everything becomes separate and comparative. But then yoga, as I went deeper and deeper back into yoga, I remembered what I knew as a kid, which is, I'm not separate at all. I am so deeply connected to everything. And when I live in that state, I don't get exhausted. It's not tiring anymore. I'm not in this battle against something because I'm fully working with it now. And
the eye contact.
Yeah, the eye contact gets more comfortable because it's not a separate person. We actually are interbeing. We fully influence and affect each other, and we can tune into that and honor that. And it starts with the intimacy within ourselves. When I can get over comparing to all the stuff out there and just start to connect my breath, my mind, my body, and my heart, then I can show up in a way that's more connected with the breath, mind, body, and heart of those around me. So it's intimacy.
So well said.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, people often ask me how I do it, and it's very hard to explain that yoga is our answer. It doesn't matter what state we're in. We pull out a mat and we get on that mat and everything shifts and changes.
Yeah. It's relationship.
How do you describe that to a beginner? How do you describe that?
Wow, they might be out the door straight away if I just said that. No, I mean, I would just say, well, I'm curious first to hear why they're showing up. What do they want to get out of the practice?
Start with why.
What's their intention? Oh, I've got this injured shoulder, I've got to fix it. Great, yeah, let's see if we can do that. I don't know if we definitely will, but we can try. And you also maybe receive these benefits and these benefits. The nervous system relaxing is so fundamental in a yoga practice, and that is accessed by our breath. The way we breathe will fully switch our nervous system from a stressed, reactive, on response into a deep, relaxed, restorative response where there's actually finally opportunity for us to feel and listen to what's actually going on and for the body to start to repair itself. So that's a huge part of it, I would say.
Yeah. But trying to explain the breath to someone who comes in really anxious and uptight, being told to come through a doctor, through a partner, or someone just says just go to yoga, and they have to breathe. That in itself can be so confronting, can't it? But there are some really simple techniques that you can do just in counting the breath. I know you can literally physiologically see change in someone, after a couple of minutes of breathing.
Sure, yeah. I just always come back to like 4 counts in, 4 counts out, and just keep working with that. I work with that daily. That's my basis of my pranayama practice, and it's so powerful.
So apart from really moving into the nurturing and mentoring teachers, what else are you calling in lifestyle? What
am I calling in? Well, at the moment I'm really...
did not get any notes on this. We don't plan anything. So Celestine, amazing job. Flow.
Yeah. At the moment, I'm really interested in upping my professionalism.
Love it.
So that's a big part of my intention for next year, because I've just let that slip under the table for so long, and I'm ready to really understand it and know what I'm doing professionally.
Yeah.
All the behind the scenes stuff. So I'm in a little bit of like building up phase, getting content out, and
Beautiful.
Yeah. But I see like I feel so blessed doing what I do and feeling connected to purpose. And for me, that's what's at the center of it. And the way that I share it doesn't always have to look the same, but as long as it's connected to what feels true for me, and it's a living truth, right? It's not something that's fixed and like, okay, now I know it. It's a living truth that I continually tend to and get to understand. As long as that's at the center of what I'm doing, then I'm so stoked. Yeah.
You are incredible.
Oh, thank you. You too.
Do you have anything else that you feel like sharing? 10 years from now, where do you see yourself?
10 years from now, I see, like, I've been living very nomadically since I finished high school. So, but I'm feeling the pull to get some roots grounded. It's not going to happen that soon, but it's coming. So 10 years from now, I definitely see I have some foundation planted down somewhere.
You're hearing it here first on Live
Maybe,
Yogi.
yeah, I'm like just making it up as I go. But little ones running around, vegetable patches, and offering online content is such an awesome way to access so many people and keep connected with a lot of people. And then what really inspires me is more immersive offerings as well. So retreats, weekend immersions and trainings, so that then there's more teachers that can go out really connected to what they're doing and go and spread it even more. So that's what I really see in the next 10 years.
Spreading that yoga love.
Yeah.
Thank you everyone for tuning in.
Thank
Sally,
you.
Meredith, you are a gift to yoga and to the world, and we're so blessed to have you grace our studios offline and online. And I look forward to sharing the next 10 years and more with you. I love you so much. Darling.
You too. Love you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Awesome.